There's a lot more work to be done, see? Yeah? And it helps if you're a little curious. Is one thing that seems to be slightly lacking is curiosity quotient here, right? You know, it's like, you know, like I talk about history, for example. I say, well, I have no use for history. Why? It's like, Jesus Christ, you know, a little physiology, maybe some math. Hey, see, these are just simple things that you have access to. That you could learn something about human beings and what they've done so far and how they've crafted their thinking and how things have come to pass. How did the thinking that you enjoy now get created? Yeah? That's a history. What did people do? Where did it come from? The Greeks invented mind. You think mind is existential. It's not. The Greeks invented it. Ancient Greeks in Western culture invented mind. You know, see, the Chinese invented, you know, whatever, eat. You know, probably a different distinction. See, somebody invented it. It didn't exist by itself, you see, etc. Language is invented. Anyway, etc. Emotions, what we experience as emotions have been crafted over millennia. See? You just assume, no, 10,000 years ago it was the same thing, exactly the same thing. Nah, I doubt that. The root may have been the same. The basics may have been the same. But 2 million years ago, not so much. 4 million years ago, not at all, because as far as we know, humans didn't exist 4 million years ago, you see? So, you know, it's like whatever apes and missing links were doing, okay, you could study what's going on there. God, I'd love to talk to a missing link. But they wouldn't have language, so conversation would be short. But, you know, to grasp, what is it, studying missing link? You know, say going from ape to human, right? See, it's like, what is it going on? See, what is the fabulous new creation that's occurring for them that leads to human? See? See? What are they inventing? How are they learning to think? What changes are occurring in their body-mind? Change that eventually can produce human. Wouldn't you be curious about that? Can you imagine what it would be like to talk to Jesus? I mean, seriously. The real person, now maybe it's very, very, very different than the legend, right? You know? But I'd love to sit down, you know, drink some wine. He's got to make it, though.
Maybe
Yeah. Or Gautama Buddha. Or Ramana Maharshi, maybe. See, now he's pretty conventional. Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting? Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah, wouldn't you like to have a cappuccino with Leonardo? Try to grasp what's going on there, how it's going on? No? Wouldn't you like to sit down with Ralston? Yeah? Study that mind, huh? That'd be something. Yeah, too late for that. You got something?
Yeah, just a small thing. This guy at the bar last night, I thought it was quite funny. We were talking about something. There's a woman who came by who was I don't know what she was on, but I was curious about what was going on because she was kind of messed up. Like her mind, she was either on drugs or maybe she was just that way or took too many drugs. That was I'm like, I wonder what's going on there. And the guy's like, well, she has a right to, you know, if they didn't make drugs bad, it wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm like, no, it's just because I'm curious. And then he's like, well, curious. If you're not curious, you don't discover shit. And we had a laugh about that, a high five.
Smart man. Was he drunk?
He was on his way.
Yeah, he still pulled out something.
You said it,
Yeah.
It was good.
There, see, learn from the drunk. Yeah.
If the Greeks invented mind, what would it have been like before they invented that?
No mind. no mind. Not like a Zen no mind, but I'm saying
Right.
it didn't exist.
But the experience could be the same?
Well, it wouldn't be the same. It would be this, perhaps the same, but absent mind. There'd be a body and experience, perhaps, right? There's language, there's body, there's experience, there's perception, yeah? There's just no mind. There might even be something like thinking or feeling, but that would be what it is. It would be no mind.
So like the thinking and feeling doesn't necessarily exist anywhere. It just doesn't exist in your mind.
Right. It doesn't exist in your mind, and perhaps it's just a function of your body. Your body feels. You have a thought. Your body has a thought. Or, talk to yourself or some such. Now obviously, it's the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, not the current Greeks, but the ancient, they had some very powerful thinkers and some powerful warriors. See, obviously they were committed. I wonder if they were motivated. See, but you had these guys doing some really, really strong thinking. I don't mean it's Aristotle, Plato, but you had the really powerful guys with the skeptics. They were some serious thinkers. They worked hard. They were smart. Just read some of the stuff that the skeptics came up with. Okay. And it's better thinking than people do today. Much more rigorous, much more open. And this struggle with direct knowledge. See? Can it be known? Can you actually know or not? See? And there was this fight, see? This struggle with that. They were working on it. They were dwelling on it. Some schools and the skeptics, it's possible, perhaps possible, but what we're doing isn't it, kind of thing. So the knowing isn't it. This business, see? And others, not possible, you can't, there's no way, see? And they're working, and they came up with they worked hard on that. Lots of arguments about it. Some smart guys. See, but that kind of worked. See? Somebody said, hey, let's make a new distinction. Mind. See? There's this whole domain, there's this whole thing going on here. See, where we can actually create this stuff. It's not the body, it's something else. It's this thing called mind, whatever. Somebody came up with that, got popular. Yes, mind. So it's something they started to call this function of thinking, this internal activity stuff that goes on. See, it's mind. So this thought arises in your mind. See? And they invented a mind for the thought to arise in. And then the Romans went downhill. The logic, and they did okay, but the ferocious thinking was not. The Romans were mechanics. They were good inventors and mechanics and engineers. They were great at that. They were geniuses at that. But as far as the thinking and the profundity, probably wasn't as useful, see? They went more with the Spartan thing. No, we want to learn how to kick ass and build a useful world. Not sit around in robes and think about stuff. We want to invent cement and roads, armies, divisions, stuff like that. Central heating, plumbing. They did. The Greeks, they just had to get out of the well. It's like whatever thing. They didn't do that. Too busy thinking. And creating democracy. They created democracy. And you know that they had this, like in Athens, they had this, it worked there because it was small city-states, so it wasn't like massive amounts of people. But it was some kind of peg thing, right? That each person of the the city, whatever, the village would take turns being the leaders and stuff like that. So, and they would just take turns doing that kind of stuff. They would vote people in, say, but they would also take turns doing running stuff or whatever. So it stayed in the community. Like they didn't create a class of people. So I'm saying that were professional leaders or kings. You see, they shared it. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Something.
I just wanted to ask how the Greeks invented mind, or was somebody kind of, you know?
Well, one day a guy was sitting around and he said, "Okay, let there be mind." They did it.
Like it was some philosopher or
Yeah, somebody did it. Or maybe a group, collectively. I don't know.
how do we know that they created mind?
Oh, somebody said. It's historical hearsay. You know, and part of it too, see, in the language and distinctions made, there wasn't any, and then there was. See? Say there's no reference to mind, there's no talking about mind, there's no experience called mind, there's no word for it, etc., and then there was. That's one of the ways you could tell. Oh, it popped up there. In this part. They invented mind like you invented language. You created it from nothing. You just don't remember doing that. But you did. They created mind like you got who you are. Sort of. It wasn't there, then it is.